Hi, everybody. Welcome to Social Studies. Today we are going to continue our talk about the colonies, specifically about how slaves got to the colony. And a lot of that has to do with trading, specifically the triangular trade. Remember, we used to talk about the triangular talking. Remember Vietnamese between Tan, Tien, and Q? But anyway, today we're going to talk about the real triangular trade. Ready? Here we go. So what is the triangular trade? The triangular trade was a three-legged trade route between three continents. So what does all that mean? Trade means buying and selling. Route means the way you take from one place to another. So if you usually, when you go to school, you turn right onto 12 and left onto Ryan, or however you do it, it's the same way you go. In this case, the route was like a triangle because it started in Europe, then went to Africa, then went to North America, then went back to Europe. Triangle, one, two, three sides. Okay, let's see how it worked. How did it work? Europe, mostly England, would send cloth. This is cloth. You make clothes out of it. Europe, mostly England, would send cloth, rum, which is alcohol that people drink, and other goods to Africa. So England is actually here. It's kind of like an island, but anyway, it is part of Europe, and it would go to Africa, and it would send them this cloth, rum, and other things. Okay, so that's the first part of it. Then what happened? So Africa would send slaves to North America. So people here would kidnap Africans, take them away from their homes, put them on ships, and send them to North America. That's the second part of the trade route. These are not real slaves. They are mannequins. They are pretend like statues from a museum that shows how they were chained in the ships and left to lie down here. They could not get up for all the days that it was there. Um, so many of them just died lying down like that. Very inhumane, right? Very bad. So that's the slaves going to North America. Let's see the last part of the triangle. Okay, the British colonies in North America. North America is the continent we live on, right? The British colonies in North America would send sugar, tobacco, and cotton to Europe. Okay, so remember, we started in Europe. We we gave them alcohol and cloth and other things. Then Africa kidnapped slaves and sent them to North America. And then North America would send sugar, that's what you put in tea or coffee, and what we put in cakes and cookies, and cotton, you know cotton, we have clothes made out of cotton. And tobacco is what they put in cigarettes to smoke, okay? So Europe to Africa, Africa to North America, and North America back to Europe. So they sent them like raw materials. You know, cotton is just, it's not made into clothes yet. But when it gets to Europe, they make it into cloth, right? So they call what North America sent raw material because it's just sugar. It's not cookies. It's just cotton. It's not clothes, right? And it's just tobacco. It's not cigarettes. Okay, now let's see what else we can learn. Who used the slaves? Like the slaves came, right, to North America. Slaves were bought by people in all colonies, like all 13 colonies had slaves. But the biggest number of slaves was in the southern colonies. Why is that? Because they had plantations. They had all these huge fields and they wanted people who worked for no money to collect all that cotton and make them rich. right? Now, cotton, if we look at the plant, it's very prickly, like it would poke you, it would hurt you. So they would bleed a lot while they're working. And if you notice, these are little kids because when slaves got married and had kids, the kids were also considered slaves, and they would make them work as soon as they could, like walk and pick up things. So it's a very hard life for an adult or a child. It was a very, very difficult life for a slave. So slaves worked in the fields of plantations, right? But in all the colonies, not just the South, they bought slaves, but they used the most slaves in the South because the Southern colonies had big farms. That's where the plantations were, right? Okay, let's try to wrap it up. When did the slave trade end? It had to end at some point, right? We're not just bringing people from Africa right now, right? So in 1807, England made the slave trade illegal. In 1808, the United States made the slave trade illegal. Now, the colonies, remember the colonies? Later on, they said, oh, go away, England. We don't want you. We want to become our own country. We want to be the states. So in the 1800s, the states was its own country. It was no longer part of England. So in 1808, the United States made the slave trade illegal. But like all illegal things, people tried to break the rules. So there were lots of slave ships still coming, even though it was illegal. So the slave trade continued illegally until the late 1800s. Terrible, right? So here, these are slaves, but they didn't go to North America. You know why? Because look at this. This is a British Navy officer, and they saved all these slaves. These are slaves that were leaving Africa, going to be sold, but these British officers saved them. And this is the ship where they're all on it. They are rescued and ready to go back home to Africa, which is a good thing. They didn't go stay in chains and work forever in fields and get beaten up and not given enough food. They survived. They went back home, right? These people are Navy officers too, I think. And these people on the floor were the people who were trying to sell them to be slaves, and they saved them. So that's a good thing. Okay, heavy stuff, right? Very, very serious lesson. This is it for our lesson. Let's go look at our assignment. So here's our assignment, social studies assignment, triangular trade. Decide if the following statements are true or false. Number one, the triangular trade took place between Europe, Africa, and North America. Figure out, is that true or not? Slaves were sent from Africa to Europe. Is that how it worked? Look at what we said. Decide if it's true or not. Number three, only people in the southern colonies bought slaves. Is that true? Only people in the southern colonies? Look at the lesson. Number four, people stopped the slave trade as soon as it became illegal. Is that true? They said no more slave trade, never said, okay, no more. We're not doing it anymore. Is that true? Or did they try to keep going? Okay, answer the following question. Number five, if you were a slave in the 1600s, how would you feel? And why would you feel that way? If you were a slave in the 1600s, how would you feel? And why would you feel that way? Okay, my friends, that's it for now. Remember, this is a lot of new words, so check out the translation documents. If you don't understand the assignment, look at translation of assignment in Schoology. If you don't understand the video, the lesson, look at translation of lesson. That's it for now. See you next time.